Iran is not the only issue on the agenda here at the UN General Assembly. And for more on Syria, I'm joined now by our colleague Stephen Fee. Stephen, what's been happening on those key negotiations involving Syria's chemical weapons?
Well, it's a great question, Nathan. The General Assembly has, of course, allowed world leaders to air their views on Syria, and they are still widely divergent. The Security Council still working to hammer out a resolution to put Syria's chemical stockpile under international control. And pursuant to that, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met here on the sidelines with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. And of course, both countries are veto-wielding members of the Security Council, meaning their agreement is vital if the UN is to move forward. A midday luncheon of heads of state, a genteel setting that came with a note of hope from UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon.
Our meetings will not resolve all our problems, but we are talking.
A vague reference, perhaps, to renewed diplomacy, especially in the case of Syria. The French president addressed the General Assembly Tuesday, and at a press conference immediately afterward, he reaffirmed his call for a strong Security Council resolution.
We want the resolution that will be voted in a couple of days to be binding. It means that it must say that in the event of a breach, there can be sanctions applied under Chapter 7.
That provision of the UN Charter would allow military force in the event of non-compliance, a provision that Russia strongly opposes. But U.S. President Barack Obama said a military threat was the only reason diplomacy had been revived.
Now there must be a strong Security Council resolution to verify that the Assad regime is keeping its commitments. And there must be consequences if they fail to do so. If we cannot agree even on this, then it will show that the United Nations is incapable of enforcing the most basic of international laws.
The organization that oversees the global ban on chemical weapons could approve a U.S.-Russia agreement this week, and the Security Council could very well vote on the sidelines of this year's General Assembly. Now, of course, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons could indeed take a vote on the U.S.-Russia deal, although they've postponed that decision-making process for many days. And meanwhile, as confirmed last night to CCTV, UN's chemical weapons inspectors will be on the ground in Damascus on Wednesday. Back over to you, Mike.
Stephen Fee and Nathan King live for us in New York. Thank you both.